Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? As we inch closer to the NFL draft, 3 weeks away, Saints continue to make their way through their top 30 visits. And other prospect people in these parts should know well. Safety Nick Emenwari out of South Carolina visited the New Orleans Saints here on Thursday. Nick Underhill over at NewOrleans.football had that report. 6'3", 220, great athlete. LSU got to see him when they played up in Columbia earlier this year. That's a guy whose stock has continued to rise. Could that be someone potentially that the New Orleans Saints scribble his name on a card and hand to the commissioner here in 3 weeks? Kat Terrell covers Saints, ESPN.com. Great friend of the show. Always good enough to give us a couple of minutes. Kat, we appreciate it. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Thoughts on Emenwari, or if the Saints were to go defensive back, maybe in the first couple of picks in the draft?
Yeah, honestly, I would not be surprised if they go cornerback with their first pick of the draft. I mean, look, with the Saints, they basically need everything.
Yeah.
So I'm probably going to say that about a lot of positions. I think cornerback probably sticks out to me more just because they lost 2 starting corners in a year, which, they have other corners in the roster, but, corners always get hurt. So that's probably something we're going to be talking a lot in the next 3 weeks. Wow. Kind of crazy that it's so close. Safety, I would be surprised if they picked high, but you never know. And then, of course, everyone is just waiting on pins and needles to see if they take a quarterback. I think that's the other position that people are going to be talking about nonstop for a few weeks.
Well, let's dig in there a little bit here. But actually, let me leave this one a little more open-ended before we go specific on quarterback. If I gave you carte blanche, Kat, and said, okay, you get to make the 9th pick realistically, right? I mean, you can't say, Cam Ward at 9. He's not going to be there at 9. But, like, realistically, you stay at 9. You're going to make the pick. Is there a player or position that you would prefer at this point?
Probably more position than player. If I were picking for them based on need, I would go. I actually just had to do this assignment a few days ago, and I had trouble narrowing positions down to 3. But I would go cornerback, offensive line, or pass rusher. But then you kind of look at their history of drafting pass rushers in the first round and kind of feel like, okay, can you trust them to take yet another edge rusher and that it's actually going to work out? They haven't had a star pass rusher drafted since Cam Jordan.
Probably not edge. Why corner or offensive line at 9?
Because I definitely think that they can always be upgrading those 2 positions. I think they have had issues with their offensive line for the last couple of years. I think Fuaga was a good pick. They said they see him as a left tackle, so maybe that is set in stone. But, when he was coming into the draft, a lot of people wondered if he was going to play at right tackle, which is, I think, where he spent the majority of his career. So, Penning is not a sure thing. With left guard, I think they've just been signing cheap free agents for a while, hoping something sticks. So, if they want to protect their quarterback, that's really, they got to build from the trenches. But, like I said, the other big question is, do they draft a quarterback, and how much faith do they have in Derek Carr? And I do think that is a big question going into this draft. Okay, let's not put it off any further then. Let's talk about quarterback. Yeah, if I keep going to it.
Right. If I keep seeing a lot of mocks, Kat, and listen, I don't have draft sources, right? Like I'm not Kuiper or Schefter or anything. I don't know what New England's thinking. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So, but you hear all the chatter, Shedeur dropping. Let's just say hypothetically, he does slip and he's there at 9. Should they take him?
Ward or
no,
Sanders?
Shedeur. I'm sorry, Shedeur Sanders. Yeah.
I'm so in the middle on this. I know people kind of take the Derek Carr issue and say, well, that certainly means they'll draft a quarterback. I think that they shouldn't draft a quarterback just because one is there. If they love the guy, then yeah, by all means go for it. But, it all depends on how they're great and if they truly think that that's their quarterback of the future. I do not think they should draft their quarterback just because. I don't think that a lot of teams around the league, I mean, this is common knowledge, but I don't think a lot of teams really think that highly of this draft quarterback class in general. I don't even know if the Saints did or not. And if they did, they're certainly not going to, play that, show that hand. But I don't think that they should force themselves into a box. However, it does seem, just based on all the things that have happened in the last month, that they don't necessarily see Derek Carr as their long-term guy. That could change. I mean, he could come back and have a great year this year. But that's my rambling way of saying that, sure, if he's graded really high, do it. But if they just are doing it because it's a need in their mind, I don't think they should.
Let me ask a different way outside of number 9. Is there a quarterback somewhere else in the draft that the Saints have already spoken to, right? Pro day, dinner with Quinn Ewers, any of that sort of stuff. Is there a quarterback outside of round 1 that you like that would make sense for New Orleans?
Well, I thought this was interesting. Scott Tolzien went to Hunter Decker's, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, went to Hunter Decker's pro day, and, he hasn't played in a while because of the gambling issue from a few years back. So he went to pro day in South Dakota, I believe. So, he was being worked out by the Saints, and I think he had dinner with them too. So that caught my mind, and maybe it's just because we had also literally just written a feature on him on ESPN.com like the day before. But I guess that kind of got my radar up. I thought that was interesting. I feel like I don't know if he's dropped off the radar because he hasn't played, but yeah, I just thought it was interesting that they went to South Dakota to watch him work out. But, with these things, sometimes you just never know.
She said, okay, you could tell them, I was going to say, Brandon Cooks didn't come in for a top 30 because Sean Payton was so sure of his character. So visits don't always mean they're going to draft someone. That is an interesting point of view. The other thing, too, and that's one of the benefits. Are you calling her back? Yeah, okay. One of the benefits also of knowing a coach or an organization's approach to a draft and a process. Sean Payton would say, and I think later disclosed this, one of the reasons he loved bringing in quarterbacks and working out quarterbacks throughout the draft process was you get a scouting report on guys you may see down the line. You learn their tendencies, their strengths and weaknesses. So you're learning a lot about guys who you may face down the road. And maybe down the road you might have a free agent opportunity with him, or you see how it goes. But there's a lot of different reasons to have a visit. That's a good point. And the Brandon Cooks, when they drafted Brandon Cooks, it was so interesting because I remember it was when Mike Detillier was coming on all the time, and Mike was so bullish on Brandon Cooks, like from the onset of the draft process. Like Mike Detillier knew how the Saints felt about Cooks, and it was like for 3 months, it was Brandon Cooks. And sure enough, they took Brandon Cooks in round 1. But it'll be fascinating to see what they do. Hunter Deckers. That's a name we hadn't talked about at quarterback. But sorry about that. I always love talking to Kat. She's got great insights. I mean, she's covered not only the Saints, but also the Cincinnati Bengals, now back with the Saints, and been around the NFL for a long time. So I always like her perspective. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.